I mean, just take us through when you think, or whether you think, I think we know the answer to that, but when you think intervention should have been carried out, military intervention.
You know, we talk a lot about the past, and there's no question that people are making a lot of policy based on what happened in 2003. But I think if we're looking for some local examples of how things do and don't work, it's useful to go back 25 years, actually, to 1991, when we had that ceasefire after the first Gulf War. And there were two uprisings, one in northern Iraq by the Kurds and one in southern Iraq by the Shia. The Shia were abandoned, I think, with consequences that were not only disastrous from a humanitarian point of view, but to some extent we're still living with the consequences today. The Kurds belatedly were rescued and created what is probably today the most viable part of Iraq. And I do think that one of the things we're seeing in this Russian intervention is if you limit your objectives, and it seems as though maybe the Russians are trying to limit their objectives, you actually can accomplish a lot more.
When you look at the interventions, going back, say, to the first Iraq War, to the Bosnian War, the Kosovan adventure, the second Iraq War, all the interventions, what do you think the success rate is? Let's go up to Libya. What do you think the success rate is in your assessment?
We could go all the way back to the Korean War in 60 years ago, which at the time was viewed as a disaster. It cost, I think, 40,000 American lives. The country was in horrible shape afterwards. 60 years later, it's a modern miracle. So
well,
I think if you want to make historical judgments, you have...
What score do you give it? I mean, do you think we get it right half the time, or 90%, or 20%?
Look, I haven't tried to do a box score on this, and I'm not sure that's a very useful way to think about it. I think there are things that we've done right and things we've done wrong, and that's the right way to think about it.
Paddy Ashdown, Lord Ashdown, what does